DFS Huddle is back, and today we are breaking down running backs for your season-long fantasy drafts. I'm Kyle Proviance. He is Eric Toft. You're going to be your NFL DFS team for the entire 2025 season. And you're saying, but Kyle, there's no real DFS. Well, there's some DFS. We might get some preseason videos in there, whatever. But what we want to do here is just sort of get our feet wet, get ourselves in the minds of the audience, and try to help you out with your season-long drafts. Check out our previous videos. You'll see our videos on our quarterback rankings, our tight ends rankings. We get a little DFS action now in our good DFS show. I don't think you heard many places telling you to play Kamani Vidal on your DFS slates last week, but I know one place did here on the DFS Huddle. So check us out. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button no matter where you're watching the show. We really appreciate that. Leave a comment in the comment section. Keep your eyes out when the DFS starts. We're going to have a Patreon set up. We're going to give you weekly, monthly, season-long rates. We're going to have wide receiver quarterback matchups, running backs to target, stacks, lineup construction, player pools, you name it. We're going to have it for single game slates, season-long, all that stuff. So please subscribe. Keep tuned in. Running back, Eric, this is the lifeblood of your fantasy team, right? For years, this is who everyone wants to take number one. This year's a little bit different. We're not seeing a running back as the consensus number one overall pick. It's Jamar Chase this year, especially in PPR leagues. And that is important to point out. We are talking in terms of PPR. That's what most leagues are in our DFS. When you play DFS, even FanDuel is half PPR. DraftKings is full PPR. So we're talking PPR. If you are in a standardized league, it does change a little bit. And running backs are certainly more valued than a wide receiver would be because you're not getting points for the catches. But in a PPR league, and that's the ADP we're talking about here, is PPR. We don't have, in fact, the consensus top two picks are Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Wide receivers are going 1-2 in most drafts. A little bit different for running backs, but running backs are the lifeblood, and running backs go quick in drafts. Before you know it, you're looking at guys like Isaac Guerrero going, holy shit, what do I do at running back? Running back is the make or break spot, and most likely by the end of the year, all the running backs you draft will have gotten injured, and you're picking them up off the waiver wire anyways, right? So what the hell do we do with running backs, Eric?
So for me, I have two guys I'd take in the first round. That's it. The first one, should come to no surprise, Mr. Bijan Robinson. I'd take him in the first round. I think he's the highest floor and ceiling in terms of all these running backs. Last year, third in rushing yards, fourth in TDs, fourth in targets, third in receptions, third in fantasy points among running backs. Last 2 years, third in touches, fourth in rushing yards, fifth in success rate, eighth in total TDs, third in targets and receptions, fourth in receiving yards, second in missed tackles forced. That tells me all I need to know. Like, if I have pick 3, I am going to, without a shadow of a doubt, take Bijan Robinson. Now,
so let me ask you a question then. So you have pick number 3. Bijan Robinson's there. Saquon Barkley's there. Jahmyr Gibbs is there. Jahmyr Gibbs was RB1 last year. Saquon Barkley, RB2. You're taking Bijan over Jahmyr Gibbs and Saquon?
Saquon's a no. I'm not taking Saquon, and I'm going to tell you why. He had 482 touches last season, third most in 25 years. Now, history shows after running backs have 450 touches or 200,000 plus yards, they show regression. And he was only 29th in attempts per broken tackle. When we look at his big runs, he had the most big runs. Is that just because the offensive line was so good last year and opening up these huge holes? He has 9 career injuries that he has missed time throughout his career. Now, the last 2,000-yard rushers, Eric Dickerson, 1,200 yards. Barry Sanders dropped down to 1,491. Terrell Davis, 211 yards, got banged up with all the touches. Jamal Lewis, 1,000 yards. Chris Johnson, 1,364. AP, 1,266. Derrick Henry, 937. Just all these historic factors of running backs taking these dips, plus he's 28 years old. And historically speaking, 28, 29 is when we see these running backs take these dips. I am completely out on Saquon Barkley. In terms of Jahmyr Gibbs, and look, dude, I am a Lions homer. I'm wearing a Lions hat. I absolutely love my Detroit Lions. With David Montgomery, this is what he averaged a game. 74 yards a game, 102 total points, 19 fantasy points per game. Without David Montgomery, 122 rushing yards per game, 163 total yards per game, 32.56. I really feel all that is just tied to how David Montgomery's health is. Ben Johnson is gone. What is this new quarterback Morton going to come in? What is he going to do? Is it still going to be split? Is he going to give you know what I mean?
I've been hearing that they're going to have them both on the field a lot more this year. It's going to be Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs on the field. I think that only helps, quite frankly.
And you lose Kevin Zeitler and Frank the Tank. That's 40% of the best offensive line in football last year out the window. That's really hard for me to trust Jahmyr Gibbs taking him that high. I mean, so I would take Bijan Robinson, and then the other running back that I would take in the first round, I would take Gentry in the first round. I really like Austin Gentry. 2,600 college rushing yards, second almost time, elite speed. I think he's going to touch the ball 300 times for the Raiders. We all know Pete Carroll likes to run the ball. Chip Kelly likes to play fast. And we talked about last week on our quarterback episode, a reason to target Joe Burrow is because of how bad the defense is going to be. This Raiders defense is going to be awful. Yeah. So they're going to be looking.
They lost Nate Hobbs. They're going to lose. They lost a lot of stuff in coverage, which was kind of a bright spot for them. It was kind of surprising, but the Raiders secondary was actually pretty solid in terms of fantasy points allowed. Losing Nate Hobbs, and I can't remember the other guy off the top of my head right now. Not great. Not a good look.
So I mean, Gentry and Bijan would be the only guys with first round ADP that would actually be looking to draft in the first round. How about you?
I love Jahmyr Gibbs. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs all day long. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's going to have a monster year. Look, no real clear-cut receiver 3. They still have Tim Patrick, Isaac Tesla they like, but if he's going to be on the field a lot with David Montgomery, I could see a lot more of him in the passing game, these little fake handoffs to Montgomery, swinging it out to Gibbs in space, using the passing game as an extension of the run game. Mm-hmm. I like Jahmyr Gibbs a lot. My real question is, I have 2 questions. Number 1, you have the number 1 overall pick. It's PPR league. Is there an argument to take Bijan over Jamar Chase? Do you want just to guarantee yourself this young stud who appears like he's going into year 3? So this is like stepping into manhood. You're right. Massively targeted in the passing game. Michael Penix can have his first full year. They haven't had a lot of luck getting the ball to the tight end position in Atlanta with Kyle Pitts, etc. So he's going to be relied upon in the running game. If he regresses a little bit, he only had 1 receiving touchdown last year, and he only had 431 yards on 61 carries. So he wasn't getting a lot of yards per catch, but still 72 targets. Would there be an argument to take Bijan number 1 overall? Then my second question is, the one guy we haven't talked about coming back from injury, the former consensus number 1 fantasy player on the board for several seasons, Christian McCaffrey. What do we do with Christian McCaffrey? How are we feeling about him heading into this year, coming after last year where, they kind of did the peekaboo, the okey doke with us at the beginning of the year, didn't let us know how serious that was, never really got going, should be fully healthy now. What are we doing with McCaffrey, and what do you think about that number 1 overall pick? Would you take a running back over Jamar Chase?
I would take Jamar Chase all the time. He's top of my board in my 200 rankings I did. Just with how bad the Bengals defense is going to be and how much they're going to have to throw the ball. And they really don't. They're only 30th in rushing yards as a team last year. So they really don't run the ball. It's always going to be a pass-first offense to set up the run. And then also Dahlman, their center's gone in Atlanta too. That's a little bit of a worry point. You got Penix there. Bijan is obviously going to carry the workload, so the production is going to be there. But I would just take Jamar Chase, especially in a PPR that we always talk about. For McCaffrey, major red flags, 2 Achilles injuries, needing specialized treatment to be out there. Body health is a significant concern. Trust issues for fantasy managers. If you are going to draft McCaffrey, you're going to have to overdraft the clear handcuff Isaac Guerrero. You're going to have to use a pick maybe round 10 to guarantee you get him, because you don't want to play Russian roulette and keep waiting and then someone else snipe him. And then if he does get hurt, you're screwed, or you're going to have to overpay in a trade to get the handcuffs. You have to make sure you handcuff if you use McCaffrey. I wouldn't recommend using a first round pick on him. When healthy, he's going to be the workhorse and the playmaker for the 49ers, especially because they're lacking playmakers. But with the injury history and having to seek specialized treatment in Germany, I just can't. I can't do it with CMC.
A young Kobe Bryant once sought treatment in Germany as well. We saw how that turned out just fine.
I mean, but Kobe didn't have 2 Achilles injuries.
Right. Right. So he's going right now at ADP 8th. So he's the one of 4 running backs. Again, only Barkley, Gibbs, Robinson, and McCaffrey have an ADP in the first round, unless you want to count Ashton Jeanty going late in the first, going around pick 12. That was a good lead-in. So you mentioned handcuffs. So speaking of these guys, the guys who are going to get drafted, and we know the list of running backs here. You bring up Isaac Guerrero, and you bring up having to take the handcuff. Other guys like that where, look, if I draft this guy, I have got to get such and such, or I could be really fucked. You mentioned the workload that Barkley had last year. So are you taking A.J. Dillon as a handcuff? Because he's a proven commodity in the NFL, could be a nice handcuff. And do you have to do that? And then what about guys like we've seen some of these young running backs last year? Kyron Williams kind of had a guy nipping at his heels a little bit. Chuba Hubbard's going to have a couple new faces in Carolina nipping at his heels. And then you got David Montgomery. Like, do you take David Montgomery in the 8th round over a guy like Aaron Judge and Travion Henderson, who's going to be sharing the backfield? So now we get into these handcuffs and shared backfield situations. Kenneth Walker is another one. When you look through it, you mentioned Breece Hall. And I know people are down on Breece Hall, but I like the talent of Breece Hall, and I think he should. My problem last year was the way the coaching staff used him. They didn't put him on the field enough. To me, they would take him off way too often. Breece Hall is interesting in there, and we'll get to that. But who are the guys where you have to take their handcuff, or it's a shared backfield, so you almost got to take them both? So it gets tough after you get past the elite running backs.
So, I mean, when you look at it, you mentioned A.J. Dillon. Is it going to be Will Shipley? Is Will Shipley, hypothetically speaking, Barkley goes down? Are they going to use Will Shipley because he is more explosive than A.J. Dillon? That's the big question mark in Philadelphia. Atlanta, no brainer. If you get Bijan, you got to take out Tyler Algier. He has shown Algier's out. I can't even talk. Algier is showing that he can be a lead back. Before they got Bijan, Arthur Smith was splitting carries. You mentioned David Montgomery. With the Chargers, I'll be honest. Who's it going to be? You know what I mean? You got we don't know if this firework accident from Harris, is he going to be back to what he was? You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit apprehensive about that. Baltimore Ravens, is it Keaton Mitchell or is it Justin Hill? I mean, there's a question mark right there who it's going to be. I'm very high on Kenneth Walker. I really suggest if you're gonna have to handcuff him with Zach Charbonnet, Breece Allen. You're gonna have to get Allen. Obviously, I feel with the Trey Benson, if you draft James Conner, who was elite last year, because he is 30 years old. And if you take HN, I think Jalen Wright is going to be factoring in some early work, and HN may play a 3rd wide receiver. And if they ever can figure out who the handcuff is in Cincinnati and in Indianapolis, you're going to have to use them as well.
Yeah. So it makes the drafting them very difficult. Sort of in that range too. Joe Mixon, right? Average ADP 62.6. He has not participated in anything since the spring. He's got this weird foot issue. He's expected to miss the entire preseason. So I think Joe Mixon, no thanks. Where would he would have to fall way down the board for me to draft him. I would rather take James Conner. So in that range, we have the rookie Amarian Hampton, who I think there's a lot of question marks about that. I'm not sure I'm ready to invest there in him when in the 6th round. Got DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, Aaron Jones, Travion Henderson, Breece Hall, and then Joe Mixon sandwiched in the middle of that there. Thoughts on Joe Mixon? Are you doing anything with that backfield? Because
I'm not. You mentioned it's a foot injury. How can you trust a running back with a foot injury? Like, for me, that's an absolute red flag. I would want nothing to do with him. You know, he has missed time 4 of the last 5 seasons. And when you look at it, You want a running back that's going to produce at the end of the year. Let's look at it last year. First 10 games, 88 yards a game, 1 touchdown a game, 3 catches, 21 yards in the passing game. Final 4 games of the season. That's playoff time, my friend. 32.3 rushing yards a game, 7.1 fantasy points per game. How the hell can you trust that to draft? There's no way I can. I'll be honest, like in this range right here, the dude I absolutely love, and you mentioned him, Breece Hall, finished RB16 in 2024, despite having a rough season, not being used nearly enough. 10th in snap percentage. He was 3rd in touches per game until Devontae Adams came. RB5 in fantasy points like 2 years ago. 2nd most targets, 2nd most receptions, and most receiving yards among running backs over the last 2 years. Jets, this is the stat that sticks out for me about the Jets. Jets had the 5th fewest rushing attempts last season, but were 6th best in yards per carry. What does that tell me? They didn't run the ball enough. Now you're bringing in Justin Fields, and those RPOs are going to hold the linebackers, hold the safeties. It's going to open up stuff for Breece Hall, and we've seen this with Josh Jacobs. We've seen this with other running backs. Nothing motivates them more than money. This is a contract season for Breece Hall. He is going to be running like his life depends on it. At his current ADP of 54.2, absolutely love him. And then also right below him, I like DeAndre Swift, man. You know, the fact that the Bears didn't go out and make a play for somebody tells me that he's going to be the guy. Finished RB15 and RB20 in his 2 seasons with Ben Johnson. Bears upgraded their offensive line with Tooney, Jonah Johnson, and Drew Dalman. I think he's going to be undervalued. I mean, obviously, the big question is he going to get the goal line work? But the fact they waited until like the 8th, 9th round, they drafted that running back from Rutgers, and they brought in Roscoe Johnson, who I'm not the biggest fan of. I think Swift's in line to absolutely have an absolutely huge season. And I mean, what is that? Pick 54. I mean, that's huge, dude. I mean, these are guys that could win your league. And right before that, Kenneth Walker, man. Like, look, there are a few guys that.
So I have concerns there. You know, Zach Charbonnet outscored Kenneth Walker last year.
All right, so here's my thing with Kenneth Walker.
I think Zach Charbonnet is a better player than Kenneth Walker. I had Kenneth Walker last year, so I rode this train all year last year. Early in the year, Kenneth Walker's, him and Alvin Kamara are just fucking carrying it. And Kenneth Walker can't get healthy, then he does get healthy, but Zach Charbonnet is bigger and faster, so they keep playing Zach Charbonnet. They were close, so it went J.K. Dobbins, so it went Rico Dowdle, J.K. Dobbins, Zach Charbonnet, Tyrone Tracy, Kenneth Walker, Ramondre Stevenson in that order. I don't know if I'm touching that backfield until if I draft one, I'm drafting the other, and I hope one gets hurt so one can actually be productive, because I think with both of them, it's a toss-up.
So I look at it like this. Led the NFL in missed tackles forced 5.5 per game last season. Eighth best in broken tackles per rush attempt. 12th in fantasy points per game last year for Walker. Now they brought in Kubiak and they brought in Rick Dennison. Dennison has been on board for RB breakouts for Isaiah Crowell, with McCaffrey in San Francisco, Dalvin Cook in Minnesota, Alvin Kamara last year. I think we're going to see the same thing because it's going to be a zone rushing scheme, and he averaged 1.75 yards more per carry in zone running than Charbonnet did. So I really think Kenneth Walker is going to be the dude in this zone running scheme. And you mentioned Kamara. Kamara had a great season last year because Rick Dennison was there. Like, Dennison was the guy that taught Kubiak the zone running scheme, that taught Shanahan the the rushing scheme. All that comes from Dennison's mind, and he's there as a senior analyst. I think this is going to be a run-heavy team. I think Kenneth Walker is going to be in the center of that beast.
So you've got Kenneth Walker going in the 5th round, average ADP 43.2. or 43.4. Zach Charbonnet, ADP,
Yeah.
152.8 going in the 16th round. Like if you even have a 16th round. So yeah, at least you'll be able to. It looks like if you take Kenneth Walker, you'll be able to safely get Zach Charbonnet. But I would highly, highly suggest you do that, because if Kenneth Walker gets hurt, Zach Charbonnet will be the very first player taken off the waiver wire, no question about it. So just draft them both. Now again, you're taking up a roster spot, and you're kind of sitting on that. For me, if I need the handcuff desperately, I'm trying to avoid it. If I feel like I need the I'm trying to avoid it. One guy I want to talk about, though, earlier in drafts, who I have kept picking up in mock drafts, who keeps being available for me in the 3rd and 4th round. His ADP right now is 23.8, so he's going in the 3rd round in most drafts. Bucky Irving, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Give me all the Bucky Irving I can handle. I think he's going to take even more of a workload from Rachaad White this year. Another rookie we'll talk about wide receivers. I like Emeka Egbuka too. Got Chris Godwin, who's at least not going to be there the first 6 weeks of the season. So he's going to be Jalen McMillan and Egbuka opposite Mike Evans. I think Bucky Irving is going to have more receptions this year. Last year, he was targeted 52 times. I think that goes up. This year, only 207 carries. I think you see that go up. Rachaad White had 144 last year. I think you see a little bit gradually go more towards Bucky Irving. I think Bucky Irving, young kid, right? He's right there with Jonathan Taylor. I love in that part of the draft. Give me Bucky Irving second. If you can get Bucky Irving in the 3rd round, I think it's a steal. And right now he's going 23.
I love Bucky Irving, 14th overall, RB6 in points per game after week 12, averaged 19 points per game, final 5 healthy games of the season. Took over Tampa's backfield 68 to 70% of the snap share in January. I mean, I think the floor for him is 15 touches weekly, NFL leader in 4.03 yards after contact per attempt, 0.29 avoided tackles per attempt, 6 yards per touch, 31.2% jute rate, and a 95% catch rate. Had 55% of the goal line red zone rushes after week 9, 90% catch rate, as I mentioned, top 5 in yards per route run, 14th in running back receiving yards. Josh Gizzard loves running backs in the passing game. Minimal competition from Rachaad White. 30.4% of his carries went for 30-plus yards, the top 10-7 explosive rate. I mean, I think he could easily finish, dare I say, as a top 8 running back. Like, I love him. I had a big fantasy post about him last week. I'm just reading off what I wrote. I think he has the potential to be a top 8 guy. But again, we talked about in the quarterback show, what's going on with Kristen Wirfs. I need to know what's going on with Kristen Wirfs. He's a little banged up, and I really think if he's not there, there's just certain guys that are jealous of the line. That's my worry point.
Yeah, one thing about Tampa Bay, as I went through and was doing my team spreadsheets, a very friendly schedule. I have them for 12 wins. Schedule is very, very friendly for Tampa Bay. They did bring in Charlie Heck for some depth on the offensive line if Tristan Wirfs isn't there. But it will be interesting to see what happens with that offensive line. But I do like some Bucky Irving. Another teams, let's talk about a couple teams' running back situation that looks a little bit murky. Let's start with the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos had one of the best and quietest off seasons you'll ever see. They added their entire roster. They added 5 players in the offseason, or they lost 4 players, added 5 players in the offseason, which is just insane. But when you look at the quality of players that the Broncos brought in, they brought in Evan Ingram. They brought in J.K. Dobbins. They brought in Tuilanoa Hufanga from the 49ers and Dre Greenlaw from the 49ers. So now we're at but one of the key 4 losses, they did lose Javonte Williams. They draft R.J. Harvey in the 2nd round, and they bring in J.K. Dobbins. So right now you have J.K. Dobbins being drafted 118th overall in the 12th round, way down with guys like Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson, and Austin Eckler, while you have R.J. Harvey going in the 10th round in between Isaiah Pacheco and Tony Pollard. So what do we think about this running back situation in Denver?
So Shefty tweeted out the depth chart for the season for the Broncos. Dobbins as their starter, McLaughlin as second string, Estimate as third, Tyler Batty as the fourth, Blake Watson, and RJ Harvey as fifth string.
Yeah, RJ Harvey right now is going. He's going to be the receiving back, I would guess. And you don't spend a second round pick on. Again, that's the first depth chart of the preseason, so those are tough to go off of.
Yeah,
but that's just right now. I would think waiting on Dobbins and getting him way late. I think he'll be the main running back, and then I think you'll see the question. You don't want to invest too highly. If you take one of these guys, this needs to be bottom end, bye-week flex type guy. Maybe one of the other guys gets hurt, and like J.K. Dobbins, when he's getting the workload, can be a very effective back. We'll have to see with RJ.
He's got those knees, man. I mean, like he was a second. Probably was a second round pick by the Broncos. They're not going to use him. They're not going to use that pick on him unless they expect to use him. I mean, over 1,400 yards in 2023, 1,500 yards last season. Workhorse back, 24 years old. Sean Payton's running backs historically produce, expected to be featured in the running back, high upside in redraft leagues. I think the guy you want to get is RJ Harvey. And the fact that Schefter tweeted out this depth chart, you're going to be able to give him a discount now. Like he's going to be discounted for the next couple of weeks. So I like RJ Harvey a lot. I guess my question to you,
he's actually one of the biggest fallers. He's fallen more over the last 7 days in terms of ADP than Joe Mixon. He's fallen 8.3 slots. RJ Harvey has.
I mean,
he was going early on. And so
all these rookies are pass pro. You know what I mean? And I guess my question to you,
J.K. Dobbins has climbed 5 spots. So right now that shit's moving. Dobbins.
One of my rules though is I can't pick a running back who I have better knees than.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I have shitty ass knees. I can't pick a running back with 2 bad knees. My question to you is Hampton, the rookie at the Chargers, Caleb Johnson, the rookie for the Steelers, RJ Harvey from Denver. You get 1 pick. Which one are you? No, sorry. No, I'm not going to say 1 pick. At the end of week 18, which one has scored the most fantasy points?
I will say most likely Omari and Hampton.
Okay.
That's who I would say probably. Caleb Johnson, by the way, is going in the 9th round. Omari and Hampton's going way up in the 6th round. Pick 53. They're all trending the other way. Another team I want to ask you about the running back situation, the Dallas Cowboys. So they bring in Javonte Williams and now Miles Sanders. And then they drafted Jaden Blue. Any reason to touch any of those?
I think I always look at like the 14th round. You take a flyer, someone who's a rookie who could blow out. I think to me that's Jaden Blue. I mean, Javonte Williams, I love them coming out of college, but he's always hurt. Smartest shit, always hurt. Blue ran a 4.38 40-yard dash. Cowboys invested in their offensive line to support the run game. I expect Blue to eventually take over the early down work. And even if so, worst case scenario, he's going to be the pass catching back. Cowboys running backs caught 66 passes last year. You know what I mean? So he's going to have value just in these PPR formats because of the pass catching upside. And if he eventually does take over for Williams, I think he's going to be a home run pick.
Another guy I want to briefly talk about who I think might be the best value 11th, 12th round filling out your roster. Tony Pollard is sitting down here going as the 28th running back drafted. His ADP is 100.2, so he's going early 11th round. He was a top 20 fantasy running back last year. I think running back 21. 1,000 yards rushing, got a little bit hurt. Tajay Spears, by the way, filled in and was a DFS monster. So that team, I think their offense is going to be a little bit better this year without Will Levis. I know Cam Ward's a rookie, but they're going to rely heavily on the running game. They didn't bring in anyone. It's still Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, the top 2 backs in Tennessee. Tony Pollard's going after guys like RJ Harvey, after Caleb Johnson, after Travion Henderson, after David Montgomery. Tony Pollard's going to have a higher workload than every single one of those guys.
Look at Pollard, 3 consecutive 1,000-yard rushing season in the top 20 fantasy football finishes, 4 consecutive seasons, 55 plus targets, 39 plus receptions. Finished 9th in yards after contact per rush, 8th in broken tackles per rush last season. Titans brought in more at left tackle, Ziegler at right guard when healthy. Veteran running backs going to be leaned on by a rookie quarterback. I mean, dude, just give it to me, man. I absolutely love it. Sometimes I feel like you and I look at the same exact shit, and this is a perfect example of it because I absolutely love Tyler Pollard. I'll tell you this, my advice to everybody, do absolutely nothing with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh,
what?
Yeah, nothing.
Like, dude, you have no idea. Is it going to be Travis Etienne? Is it going to be the fourth round rookie, Tank Bigsby, another guy, Allen? You have 4 guys right there. You have no idea what is going to happen. My deep sleeper, and I'm not even going to pronounce his name because I'm going to absolutely butcher it, but I'm going to give it his initials, JCM of the Washington Commanders. Brian Robinson has not been what the Commanders thought he was going to be since they drafted him. Austin Eckler, a pass-catching down back at his best right now. Chris Rodriguez can't even make the roster. So, I mean, they used like a 5th or 6th round pick on JCM, the rookie from Arizona. If you're looking for a deep sleeper, someone that you could be like, oh, shit, this guy is going to win me a fantasy football championship, that guy toward the end of the season, JCM, Washington Commanders, my friend.
JCM, I have a couple deep sleeper guys, couple of young guys. Number 1, Cam Scatterbo. I love Cam Scatterbo, and I'm not sold on Tyrone Tracy Jr. I know the Giants used him quite a bit last year, but I can see Cam Scatterbo is going to be a crowd favorite. Tyrone Tracy struggled to fight off, who was it last year? Was it Devin Singletary? I think it was Devin Singletary. Tyrone Tracy, really not uber talented. I think Cam Scatterbo, you get him later if you're in a dynasty league, or you just kind of stash him on your bench and wait for him to sort of get into a groove. Russell Wilson's going to do a lot of dink and dunk. Cam's excellent out of the backfield. We saw that in that Arizona State Texas bowl game. I think he could be someone who's really, really interesting late in drafts. And another guy, we mentioned Christian McCaffrey, and we'll see how healthy he is. Isaac Orendo showed signs of life late last year. It's another guy, of course, we talked about it in the handcuffs. If you take McCaffrey, get Isaac Orendo. But if you want to screw the guy that took Christian McCaffrey, and you want to pick up a guy who showed signs of life when he was given the ball late last year, you sort of look at his game logs after he sort of got pushing with Jordan Mason getting hurt and Elijah Mitchell. 15 carries, 78 yards, a couple of touchdowns, 16 carries, 57 yards, 4 catches out of the backfield. And a run-heavy scheme that the 49ers are going to have to run. Guys like Isaac Orendo, Cam Scatterbo, deep in drafts. Again, Zach Charbonnet is going way too late for me. That's a guy that I would be picking up. I think he's going way too late if you're looking for deep sleepers, way down at the bottom of your draft. And one other guy who I think will take another rookie, Quinshon Judkins. You can see Quinshon Judkins, if he can quit getting in trouble, get his shit together, and be on the team. I don't think they're overly sold on Jeremiah Ford. That offense should be a little bit better. So guys like that I could see later in drafts. One more team I want to ask you about real quickly is the Patriots. Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson. What are we doing there?
I'm doing no chance in hell, dude. You have Stevenson fumbled all the time. They drafted Travion Henderson. They're switching to a power gap running scheme, but Henderson ran zone at Ohio State. When that happens, it's like, what the F are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And you have Antonio Gibson just chilling like a villain right there. Is he going to be the third down pass catching back? If so, it cuts down into both their values. Stevenson, they can't get out of the contract until after next season. So you're not just going to pay a guy to have him sit on his ass. So that's another, there's certain teams I want nothing to do. Like, the thing I'll end with is what I do before a draft is I wait until, like, my first draft, I think, is the Sunday of Labor Day, the Sunday before Labor Day. Yeah. I write down, I have a sheet on the paper, the top 5 rushing attacks, the top 10 rushing attacks, and the bottom 10 rushing attacks. I don't pick anyone from the bottom 10, and I try to get guys from the top 10. That is strictly my strategy when it comes to drafting running backs. So it's not really like players I'm looking to fade. It's like quote unquote schemes I'm looking to fade, and with schemes.
Yeah, I'm look, I want to get my running backs early. I want to get them off, and typically before I've taken a quarterback or a tight end, I have 3 running backs in the bank. That's the way I'll be approaching this year. Just some guys I'm looking to get. If I think I can get myself a good deal on Bucky Irving late. If I'm at the top of the draft and I have a chance, I definitely want to get my hands on guys like Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs. Derrick Henry, we didn't talk about so much. He did have 2,000 yards last year, but again, he's just going to be consistent in that running game, but not a huge PPR guy, as we all know, only 19 catches last year. So more for standard leagues. When we get to those middle rounds, we mentioned Breece Hall. I'm going to be looking for guys like him. Tony Pollard late in drafts, I think, is going a little bit too late. And again, some sleepers down there, guys like Arendo, Zach Charbonnet, who's going criminally late in my view, and maybe a guy like Cam Scatterboo can overtake Tyrone Tracy Jr. out there in New York. Any final thoughts or guys that you want to keep an eye on as we get done with running back?
Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown is worth it. Bengals 30th in rushing yards. Brown was 17th in rushing yards. He gets all the production. Bengals running backs have finished top 10 in scoring every year since Joe Burrow was a starter. So I really think him. Totally avoid James Cook with the contract situation. Maybe by the time this comes out, it's been sorted out. But right now with the contract situation, no way in hell I can trust him.
Love that. Again, stay tuned for more content. Please check out our other videos. If you're seeing this one, that means our quarterback videos already up, talking about some quarterback draft strategy. Our tight end strategy is up. Wide receivers will be next. And then, of course, keep your tubes set. Even if we get a little hair up our ass and we want to come in and pop in a preseason DFS video, we'll certainly have that for you when the regular season starts. Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Sunday slates. Of course, if there's any Friday, we do have a Friday night game that opening weekend. We'll have a slate for that. So all sorts of DFS content. Please like the videos, subscribe to the channel, share it out with your friends. Follow us on Twitter at DFS Bachelor, at ETOF21 Sports. We really appreciate you guys. We'll be back with wide receivers next. Check out the video on quarterbacks and tight ends from myself and Eric. Have a great week. Football season is back. And, of course, good luck on all your future weeks.